and Lisa Beth to make sure we're on the right line.
Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to part one of our congregational meeting. This is the Q&A portion that Stu Krilloff and I will be able to answer, hopefully, some questions you might have on finances. So whoever wants to speak up, if you're online, just what do you want them to do, Moshe? Raise the hand or just...
Well, there was the budget that was part of the, in the email, the links in the annual.
That was attached.
It was attached, it was one of the attachments. No, okay,
You want us to put it up?
we can put it up,
I can
put it up.
Yeah, I'll put it up. Alan, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Perfect. Very good. So just a couple of questions and then an observation. One of the questions is on the Infant and Toddler Center. The assumption on revenues of 233,000. How much of that is based upon sort of the pre-enrollment? I was just talking to Steve. He thought there were 6 now already pre-enrolled, and you're looking for 10. And I guess the question is, what's the capacity of the facility for the Infant and Toddler Center? And then I know a lot of the expense side of that is buried in salaries and everything, but if you're to look at it, to what extent is it expected to contribute to the bottom line for this coming year?
Well, on your question on capacity, the total capacity at maximum is 25 students. We budgeted for an average of 10. Can you hear me now? Right into the mic? Okay. We've budgeted at an average of 10 kids during the course of the year, but we have capacity of up to 25. And as you mentioned, there's 6 that are on the wait list, and hopefully when we actually are live, we will quickly get more. There's a lot of demand from what we've researched in the market, so we hope that that'll go up from there. As far as the contribution, let me check the payroll. As you mentioned, other than payroll, there's very little expenses. We did separate fundraising to take care of sort of the startup costs, the initial supplies, and stocking equipment for the infant and toddler. So really, payroll is the only expense. And give me 1 second, and I'll look that up.
All right. So, and first of all, I should have prefaced it that I think it's great that the temple is doing that. I know based upon my own kids' experiences with grandkids, finding a good facility for little ones is hard to find, and so I think that is a great step for the temple to be taking. The second thing, Stu, that I have, and this is the observation, is that there's maybe 2 years worth of time to deal with what is in effect a structural deficit, given my understanding of the amount of free cash that the temple has, and then less the amount that's in the cash reserve. So that's just really an observation. I know you're all aware of it, but I think that's obviously the most important thing looking at the next couple of years is how to manage that through to get to a good solution on it.
You're absolutely right. It's something we've internally been talking about and have been well aware of. When I get into the annual meeting part, and I know you can't be here tonight, but one of the things that you can go back and look at the annual contributions pre-pandemic, the last full year before the pandemic, and it's about $300,000 higher than where we're at currently, which we can get back to that level. We are now taking care of our structural deficit. And that's obviously what we're looking forward to with the addition of Rabbi Rosner and the additional programs in the schools with Johanna and her people. So it's, your observation's right on.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. And yeah, no, I understand.
Back to your question on the infant and toddler. The first year at the 10 kids, there'll be a minimal kind of net contribution when you take the salaries and payroll expense. But it's sort of like you kind of got to almost overstaff for the first kids, and then you can add additional kids with very little additional expense. There's sort of a stair step as you add kids to get to the next level of additional teacher support. So it is positive the first year, even at the 10, and as we said, we've got capacity up to 25. So we hope it'll be both a financial contributor and also a contributor to bring new, younger families into the temple.
Yeah.
Alan, you just need to have more grandchildren.
I don't think he heard you. All right. Anybody else? The number, go ahead. You got it.
380.
Yeah.
There's 400 member families, and there's about 20 or so that.
I don't know. Can we make it any bigger? I don't know. I have to ask the technical people.
That's an imported. You might be able to make it slightly larger. It's an imported spreadsheet.
I don't know. That was just before I was on the board, but the numbers I had been hearing when I first got on the board were somewhere in the probably mid 400s. Amy, does that sound right? Right. Yeah.
Probably in the upper 400s, Evan.
Yeah.
The number we used originally was 475, but again, there's that certain level of numbers, percentage, 20% that. Sure.
Right. Anybody who pays anything toward membership.
Greater than zero.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
they're a contributing member. Absolutely. Yeah. All of the above.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. With the lack of a reformed rabbi, we've lost members, and there's been word on the street that people will come back from him. He is very focused on going out into quotes the public and generating excitement about our synagogue. So hopefully that will bring members in particular. There are others that frankly had, during the pandemic, for whatever reason, also declined in the amount of contributions they did. We're hoping that that will regenerate itself. We have to do a better job in some of our fundraising activities, to be quite honest. So it's kind of a big reset. And that's really, it's gonna be building blocks of all the components you just brought up that need to come up. You just can't rely on one particular thing, as you know.
Anybody online who has a question? Is there anybody online? Yeah, there's the expense lines.
No, it's
Right.
because you imported it. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, just kind of going back, if you look at our total revenues that we've budgeted for are about a little over $2.7 million. And the budget for the annual contributions is $850,000. That number was over $1.1 million, like I say, pre-pandemic. And if you look at the expenses are budgeted at $2,980,000. Okay, 2,980,000 with $2,980,000. So there's your deficit, and about 60% of our total expenses are our people. That's just typical for a nonprofit, that it's the staff that you have to provide the programs and the services that the congregants want and are asking us to provide. So that's to provide the services. I mean, whether we have 380 members or 450 members, we're trying to provide the same level of service and programs to the congregants. So that one place to generating the revenue from the congregants and the annual contributions is a place that we really need to focus. And as Rob said, there's all kinds of components, and we've got to work on each one and figure out how we can engage the existing membership more, that hopefully will translate into a feeling of philanthropy to contribute more to the temple, plus outreach to the community to bring in new members. It has for cantorial soloists, in the annual, if you looked at the annual reports, there's a listing of who's going to be supporting the cantorial efforts in the various services throughout the year.
So to
At least,
answer your question, Charlie, not a full-time cantor.
no. Right, for services, other things that were being done by the cantor, like working with B'nai Mitzvah students, we have, other people on staff that have taken on those responsibilities. Because, I mean, to be honest with you, we looked at this and said, we don't see at the membership level we're at where we can sustain 3 full-time clergy. And there is a need and a desire from the congregants to have 2 rabbis, a conservative and a reform rabbi. So it means that we don't have the space right now for a full-time cantor. We're going to cover the needed services with soloists, with the goal that if we can get the membership up and get the contributions up, we can look in the future of getting a full-time cantor back on. Right. I believe that's true, right? Yes. That's it? Okay.
Anybody else on?
We can take a break.
People online motion? Cheers.
I don't know whether this information exists anywhere, but are there benchmarks for comparable congregations? I would like to compare myself to others who are similar to myself. Are there ways to compare our congregations to,
In what regard?
just in terms of, well, like, so donations, are we, is there, have donations fallen off to some degree among congregations?
It's every nonprofit, regardless if it's, you know, American Cancer Society, churches. That's, yeah, the pandemic is what has been a critically bad component of our existence in that concern, yes. Now, of their published reports, yeah, you know, LB belongs to the executive directors, you know, yeah, there's information that is shared, and I know Amy has had same thing. Yeah. But yeah, as you know, it's always difficult for nonprofits in the first place. COVID really has put another layer of pressure on everybody. So it's kind of a resurgence needs to be accomplished in order to make things different. Yes,
Yep.
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah. As you know, you have probably multiple charities that you donate to, and you have to disperse based upon what you can allocate. And it's hard. My son works with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. The chapters are all merging. First time you've ever had to do that. Unfortunately, that's the reality.
The budget originally had, I believe, $100,000 as revenue for the gala. Obviously, that's taken out on the revenue side. How is that going to be made up?
Well, when you say 100,000, I think it was 75, and I think it was a net of about $25,000 to be earned from the gala. A portion of that was the online auction that we held, and a portion of that, to be honest with you, was people who, the numbers of people who had signed up for the gala, and then when it was canceled, that the majority of those people said, keep that as a donation to the temple, so that. Okay, so as LB said, there's another $25,000 gift specifically for the gala. So between all of that and the fact that we were able to kind of cut it, when we saw that the demand wasn't there for the gala, when we were able to cut it off, we eliminated the vast majority of the expenses. We didn't have to be, pay out for an event that didn't happen. So the net to the temple, it may be a few $1,000s less than what was in the budget, but it's not a tremendous hit.
And do we have a breakdown as far as members between the Reform members and the conservative membership?
It's what, 81% reform and 16% conservative, and the others are duly affiliated.
And so, but you said we have a total of 400?
It's about 400, correct,
So 16% of 400 would be 60, around 60?
for the conservative,
That's it?
about 60.
That's all we
16%.
have on the conservative membership, is about 60 units?
Okay, I don't know if you heard online that. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. Miles, I don't know if you could hear LB, so let me repeat that. It's 100 of the 400 members of the congregation. Only about 160 have actually identified as either reform or conservative, and those percentages are based on that 160. So the rest of them are people who haven't specifically identified and could be going to either or both of those services. So, Rob, what is kind of your average attendance at the conservative services?
It varies. It could be on a Shabbat morning. It can run from 25 to 40 people, on average. And since I go, I could identify with people that consistently go, and you can quotes call them conservative, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think a lot of people just are kind of, at least myself, I'm sort of going away from identifying myself as denominational. I just look at myself as being Jewish, and I come to services, whether it's Friday night quotes reform or conservative. I don't think that really matters to some people, and some people it does. But since we can't identify them, the only way you could do it is if you went in and you counted who requested conservative high holy day tickets versus not, and they may not be, because it depends upon where they want to go and their timing. So unfortunately, we can't give you an answer.
Right. And the other thing on that adding on to how many people go to services, you come on the high holidays to the chapel here, and we've had it full, which is close to 200 people at various times. So. And I would say consistently there's over 100 people here for high holiday services. So, how do you identify? Who knows? Is that it? Okay. We're going to leave the stream going or cut it off and leave it running? Okay.
Can everybody please take a seat so we can begin? Thank you. We're good? Okay. Welcome to the 2023 Annual Congregational Meeting. I am your president, Amy Packer, for 2.5 more weeks, something like that. Okay, Sherry Saladow, have we established quorum? Okay, just a reminder for those of you who have already submitted a proxy and are present in this meeting, do not vote because we've already accounted for your proxy. I'm also supposed to remind everybody who comes up to speak, please put the mic close to your mouth because people on the Zoom or live stream cannot hear you unless you're doing that. Okay, can I get a motion to, or Sherry, you can do that. I have you down as doing for minutes of last year.
I need a motion to approve I am going to make the motion, yay, that we approve the board minutes from the 2022 annual meeting.
Can I get a second? Second from Tamara. Okay, it has been moved by Sherry Saladow and seconded by Tamara Griffin that we approve the 2022 annual congregational meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections? Okay, can I have, I guess we don't, for those present, can we, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, Rabbi Kavod, Devar Torah, and honoring those who have sadly passed.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight on this Monday night. It's really good to see a lot of folks. So this is a really strong and powerful story in this week's Torah portion. It's the story of, and I want you to think as I'm starting to tell the story, think about also that this story is about a journey. Each one of us as individuals are on our own journey, and as a congregation, we're on a journey. And this is the journey, of course, of the Israelites. They've just come to where they're about to reach the promised land, land of Canaan, and they're nervous. Even though God has promised that this is the land for them, they're nervous. And so they ask, can we check it out? And so God says, you can send people to scout out the land, to spy out the land, and they do. They go ahead and send that out, and then those people come back, and out of the 12 spies that come, 10 of them say, it's amazing. There is huge, abundant food and fruits and all of it, but there's also giants. We look like grasshoppers in the eyes of these giants. There's no way we're going to be able to conquer them. And only two of the spies, Joshua and Caleb, say, we can do it. God's promised us this. Don't worry about it, and is trying to push it forward. But the 10 that come back are so strong in expressing their fear that the whole rest of the Israelites start, moaning and groaning, and no, we can't do it. And as a result, a whole generation ends up dying out before reaching the promised land. Horrible consequences. Right? So this moment of being ready to enter the land is a moment of transition. And in a moment of transition, for all of us, in many ways, fear can be present, excitement can be present, lots of feelings can be present. And how we navigate that moment of transition is going to determine what the outcome could be. So there's a really radical and I think beautiful reading of the opening line of this portion from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, a 19th century spiritual master. And he takes this word, shalach lecha anashim, send forth men or people. And he says, take that word shlach, send. It can also mean expand. Expand. And when you say anashim, men, humans, it can also mean humanness. So now instead of send forth men to Vayaturu, to scout out, spy out the land, now it says expand your humanness. Shlach lecha anashim, expand your humanness. That's what you need in order to navigate transitions, is to expand your humanness. What does that mean? And what he teaches is he quotes this midrash about the expand, where when Batya, Pharaoh's daughter, sees the basket of Moses going down the river, the midrash imagines that her arm goes forward and it extends like Mr. Fantastic or like plastic man, all the way through and reaches and is able to get the basket, that she's able to expand beyond the boundaries of what she thought was possible in order to do the holy work that was necessary. Expand your humanness. All of us have experience of transcending our own boundaries of what we thought is possible, whether that's in work or life. For me, it was becoming a parent, which I'm sure many can resonate with. To actually think that going on like 2 or 3 hours of sleep, I could actually function and help take care of kids and do that. Impossible, and yet we do it. And we did it. We expand beyond our boundaries. We expand our humanness. And then for the humanness, that word, he calls on the word Adam, like Adam and Eve. And he said Adam is a construction of 2 words or concepts. There's the aleph, and there's dam. Some of us know the word dam means blood, right? So there's an aspect of a human being which is we are flesh and blood. We are animals. We are concerned with our own desires, meeting our own needs for survival. That's a major part of who we are. But we're also the aleph, right? And the aleph is the silent letter. It's the letter that has no boundaries, is infinite possibility. It's that letter that speaks to the godly dimension in us, that is able to express kindness and justice and our bigger self, our higher way of being. And so when it says expand your humanness, it's saying take that best part of yourself and stretch it forward. Stretch it forward. All the things that Temple Bethel is, inclusive, welcoming, connected with innovative worship opportunities, social action, all of these things that who we are as we go through this transition of saying goodbye to a beloved cantor, welcoming in a new rabbi. It's time for all of us to expand forth our humanness, take the best of who we are as a synagogue and notch it up again, bring it forward. Not for us to wait for, what's the leadership going to do? What's the staff going to do? What's going to, and try to, but instead to say, in what way can I expand my humanness? And then the last piece of the verse is Vayaturu. And Vayaturu means to spy out, it really has this word not just to scout out, but to spy out. And if you think about what a spy does, right? A spy covertly tries to seek for information or for an advantage or something for personal benefit. And a lot of the times a spy is usually in operation because fear is present. I can't be upfront and straight about things because I feel like if I just did it that way, maybe things are not going to go my way. So instead, let me see what I can figure out, and that was what the spies, how the rabbis view the spies in the story. But instead, so Levi Yitzhak in this other creative reading says this word vayaturu, to spy out, latur, he connects with Torah. The word Torah, latur, he brings those pieces together. And what do we know that Torah means besides the scroll? It means teaching. So expand your humanness, he says, so that you can receive the teaching. So you can receive the teaching. What's the teaching? The teaching is in every person. Who's wise? One who learns from everybody. Every situation has an opportunity to learn something, to connect with, so however that is moving forward, a lot of the times our biggest obstacle to experiencing the teaching from other people, and that's what's relevant for our community, is the way that we label other people. And we can label other people in a whole lot of ways. The polarization that we experience in this community along political lines, from my observation, has transcended even beyond politics to this sense of immediately, this person is this way, my labeling of them already defines what I think I can learn from them or not learn from them or whatever it is, and I'm either going to make the choices to be in relationship or to say, nope, not gonna do that. And so receiving the teaching means expanding our humanness, says that all that we're going through, all that we're navigating, every moment, every person has something to teach me. And what would it be like if the way that we navigated this next chapter of Temple Bethel was a way that said, I'm open. I'm open to learn from you, and I'm not going to kind of shrink away. I'm going to step forward and get to know who you are. I feel a little apprehension. I'm going to take you out for coffee, and get to know you and where you come from. So expand your humanness. This is what I believe is our opportunity in this next chapter of our journey as a community together. So we have just a few people that we want to remember today, a few congregants that passed members this year. I want to invite everybody to stand. And all of these people are beloved to many of us. Pete Moss. Just take a second to feel the beauty of this soul. Les Heinel, Cantor Natalie's father. And Polly Sloan. And you can picture each of these people in their radiance. And feel what a gift they've been to many of us. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Rabbi Kavod. Next, the presentation and approval of the 2023-24 budget. So Rob and Stu.
Good evening, and thank you, everyone. First off, I want to take a few moments and recognize the individuals that have worked continuously and tirelessly regarding our finances. And first and foremost is our treasurer, Stu Krilloff. Thank you, Stu. Who soon won't be. We won't be. Of course, our executive director, Lisa Beth Lobenthal, in the back, holding down the fort. And the newest member is our bookkeeper, Peter Greenberg. So, You'll have great opportunity to meet with him because he is in our facility. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. So with that, I have the exciting news for you, hopefully. First, I'm going to do a quick recap on our fiscal year 2023 goals. First and foremost was to stabilize and increase contributions and revenue in order to reduce the operating deficit. Return to having an in-house bookkeeper, which Peter has fulfilled that. Develop a plan to, quotes, remodel the synagogue and purchase our solar system. So some of our accomplishments this past year. The Center for Jewish Learning, a huge round of applause for Johanna and Carolyn and Melissa and Samantha. Your entire team, all the educators, have taken our ECC and our religious school to new heights. We really appreciate what everybody has done tirelessly to bring us to this level and to continue us going forward. We'll talk about some of the future developments that we have are going to happen here shortly. So thank you very much. Keep it up. So just a couple of numbers. First and foremost, the ECC, we had an increase of 10 students from 45 to 55. It's a fairly substantial increase. Revenue increased by $100,000. That is awesome. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. In the area of financial, we were eligible for funds from the government's Employee Retention Credit Program. So far, we received $176,000, and there's $90,000 more to come, which will be in this new fiscal year. We don't anticipate getting it for another couple of months. In the area of philanthropy, Rabbi Kavod, Polly Sloan, has given us a really nice legacy gift along with June and George Pollack. So we truly appreciate their endowing us with some funds to continue on with their legacy. We had 3 Torahs that needed restoration, and we had 36 individuals that donated money to restore the Torahs, which frankly was about $10,000, believe it or not. 2 of the Torahs are survivor Torahs that came from Europe that are on loan to us, and so we're obviously able to continue on with the legacy of those as well. Regarding our facility, we did purchase the solar system. That was a key component of the Secure the Future campaign. So in reality, I think we've checked all the boxes as far as our initial concept and ideas of what we want to accomplish with the Secure the Future campaign. Now I'll recap first and foremost, with the assistance of Susan Samueli and the Samueli Foundation, we paid off the mortgage. Thank you very much. We've collected, and we have in the Jewish Community Foundation of Orange County's funds $1.3 million for future programs. We've established enough in the reserves from a daily cash basis, and then of course the last was the solar. So it's just been an amazing 6 years of accomplishment from that area. Yes, Shiffy? Yes. No. On top of the building, this is a 60,000 square foot building, of which 30,000 square feet are roof. We have 937 solar panels. So if you ever want to go up the ladder, I'll take you up there and show it to you. But it's pretty cool. Yes, we did. We were on a 5-year lease program, and we exercised that in February. We purchased the system. It was over $1 million. And then on top of that was $100,000 for the roof. We paid off the solar system, which was $350,000, where it's going to save us approximately $60,000 a year in expenditures, since we'll be not having the lease, so to speak. So the payback is about 5.5, 6 years. But more importantly, we're doing something for the environment, and we're self-generating a lot of our own power, obviously. So it's pretty cool. Did I answer your question? You're welcome. Susan Samueli and Brev Kitstein have graciously volunteered to assist us with freshening up the shul. So if you haven't gone up on this, up on near the sanctuary on the right-hand side, the little youth lounge, coffee area, that is totally remodeled. It looks absolutely awesome. Paint, furniture, flooring, new appliances, etc. I'm sorry, I didn't hit it. There we go. I'm sorry. And some wall hangings, and then if you'll walk into the lobby, you'll see some paint samples. Very shortly, we're going to be doing some painting there as well. So thank you very much for taking that on. It's really awesome. We really needed to do it. We were out of the building for a number of years, obviously during COVID, so we've kind of need some serious refreshing, and that's going to happen. A team led by Dr. Brad Shapiro and with Charlie Lupol's expertise, we're going to build a brand new sukkah. Charlie has done amazing work. You have no idea unless you really, when you see it. He designed it. He built prototype panels, which we put up yesterday. We have a 1,600 square foot sukkah, which I'm going to bring out the Guinness World Book of Records. I think we're probably going to be pretty close. It's definitely the largest, probably in California, maybe the Western United States, and maybe even wherever. So, prove me wrong. It's awesome. Thank you, Charlie. He's got lots and lots of more work to do. We'll need some volunteers to help him put it all together, so we'll move on with that. We had to upgrade the air conditioner computer system. The entire system is run by a computer, and we needed new programs. Actually need a new computer to do that. So we took care of that. And then Karen Forrest remodeled the gift shop. Hopefully you've been going in and perusing all of the nice items that she's been bringing us, and hopefully you'll be purchasing some as well. Whoops, I'm going to lose my page. Did it turn? Yes. Okay, current fiscal year, which concludes in about 12 days, 18 days. For this fiscal year, we have an approved budget with, unfortunately, an operational deficit of approximately $254,000. A few items that have helped reduce that was the CJL. The revenues are projected to be approximately $85,000 more than the budget. So we said we had an increase of $100,000. We had only increased the budget line item by $15,000. So we obviously under-promised and they over-delivered, for sure. So thank you very much. Annual contributions and pledges were below the budget, approximately $110,000. We asked for just donations for a security assessment. We had budgeted $75,000 and we received $48,000, so we were a little bit under that. But we truly appreciate everybody that took it seriously. Unfortunately, in today's world, we need additional security, and this helped offset the additional costs because we spent a lot of money on security. So the total operating deficit will be approximately $286,000. The good news from the other perspective is the one-time ERC windfall of $176,000 will reduce the operating deficit to $110,000. Good news, not great news, but we're heading in the right direction. So I'm going to turn it over to Stu at the moment, and he's going to actually go through the 23-24 budget.
Too many papers, sorry. Okay, so the 23-24 budget, this was included in the email which had all the money, the material for the congregational meeting. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at that. We had a budget meeting before this meeting started, and we had a number of questions and clarifications. So when we're done with our presentation, anybody who wasn't able to attend that has other questions, we'll be glad to address those. I wanted to kind of do this little bit of a comparison. The first column I put in there is the last full year before the pandemic. And it was kind of where the congregation was headed. And I think the important thing, and I'll get into the details later, is that this was the first year, I think, after we had paid off the mortgage. So we no longer had the big interest expense number. And you can see that we had an operating surplus. and we were trending in the right direction. Then the pandemic hit. And as I'll get into details later, the annual contributions, and as Rob mentioned, have come down from where they were at. And that has now created an operating deficit. And that's really where a big focus of our fundraising development activities will be going forward, is to how do we get that level of contributions up. That'll get us back to a break-even standpoint, which is where we as a temple want to be. And as you can see, just a summary, so we're projecting, again, a budget deficit of $230,000. Now somebody might say, how are you paying for this? We can't keep running a deficit every year without money. Well, we've been fortunate with the government programs that came about with COVID. While we've have lost revenues, as other companies have during that, the pandemic with the payroll protection program loans and the employee retention credit against payroll taxes we paid, are monies that have come in, and in total, by the time we're all done, we will have received a little over $700,000 from those programs. That's really what the temple's living on these days. That's a one-time deal. We're not getting it in the future. And we keep going the way we are, we will then have to make hard decisions as to what programs can we continue to afford to provide. And so we're not there yet. We're doing things, you know, Johanna and Carolyn and the staff in the CJL and the educational programs. We're bringing in Rabbi Rosner. We're hoping to re-energize a lot of things in the congregation, get people more committed to coming here, participating, and hopefully create this culture of philanthropy that they'll want to provide the financial resources so we can continue to provide the services that they're all looking for. Sorry. That better? Okay. Okay. You can tell how much a public speaker I am. Anyway. So, and I apologize. I know some people had a little problems reading this. A lot of numbers, it's a little hard to read, but there's 3 line items I wanted to kind of focus on. First one is the annual contributions. And again, if you look at the pre-pandemic year, it's $1,115,000. Current fiscal year, we project we're going to only collect about $790,000, and we're budgeting a modest increase next year to $850,000. But that's, if you look at the difference in those two numbers, that translates at the bottom line to about what our deficit is. So it's an area that we have to focus on and figure out how do we engage the congregants, how do we engage new congregants to get that up going forward. The second thing I wanted to mention was there's a line item for rental income. As you know, we have, I think, 5 tenants in the building, 2 schools, 2 churches, catering service. Their revenues are about 20% of the total budget for the congregation. It's essential right now with how we're functioning. We don't have the ability on our own to utilize the entire facility. So we need that rental income to continue to do what we're doing. And the third thing I wanted to mention is you see there's a line item, the 4th line down, Infant and Toddler Center. So this is a new program being initiated that Johanna's been working diligently with the city and the fire department and we're just about there. We're hoping it would open July 1st. We might be a little bit later because the city and fire department are a little slow. But this is for 6 months to 2 years approximately for basically daycare. There's a big need for it. Johanna's had 6 people on a waiting list waiting for us to open the doors. And we're projecting about, on average, 10 kids for the year. There's a capacity that we could get up to 25 students. And at that level, could become a major contributor both to revenues and to the net income of the temple. So it's a way for us to use our facilities, hopefully as a way of getting younger families engaged with the temple, and we can grow them through the ECC, through the religious school, and along that way. So, oh, that's what it said. On the expense side, excuse me, tape it to my face. On the expense side, everything's going up. I mean, you guys all experience it in your daily life. You know, the maintenance services are going up. The security services are going up. Having the solar, our electricity is actually sort of leveled off because we generate in months more than we use, and we can use that credit against future costs. But everywhere up and down the line, there's additional costs. So our overall costs have gone up. And while we've been able to generate additional revenues from the educational programs, we're still not there yet. And that's, as I said earlier, where we need to expand that. So that's the budget. We'll get back to questions and voting on it in a minute, but Rob's got a couple of other things to mention.
Thank you, Stu. I need that. Thank you. The laser pointer. This is a list of our current year's sustainers, and the sustainers are the member families that contribute above the $5,000 annually. There's, I believe, if my count was correct, there's 41 families, and we truly appreciate those individuals and families that can contribute above. That number comes from basically what we need from an average family to break even, so to speak. And we know there are people that can't contribute to that level, and it goes, you know, from small dollar amounts all the way up to that level. So for those of us that can, or if you can't, really take a good hard look at what your ability is this coming year, so that we can bring ourselves closer to the zero deficit versus the $110,000. Hopefully everybody has received the packet of information for this year's fiscal year, July 1st. It's coming up, new membership packet. It's not an automatic renewal. So you have to go into SchulCloud and set up what you're willing to do. And that is also joining the BE Sisters, the Men's Club, security assessment, etc. We mentioned before, actually it was in the prior meeting, historically over the last 7 years, it's been a blanket dollar amount. We have a sustainer level and below is whatever you feel. And that really hasn't changed. But people have come to us and said, I really don't know what to give. You know, can you give me some guidelines? So this is what we've done. In your packet, it gives us guidelines based upon demographics. So you can use that. Hopefully you can stretch it over last year if you can't attain the sustainable level. But generally speaking, it's whatever you can do. Dollar amount will not restrict your ability to become a member of our congregation. It never will. And so please take that in mind. So again, I just want to thank all of those individuals and families that have been sustainers, and we truly appreciate your support. Life and legacy. It's not an easy subject to talk about, and that's what's going to happen when we die. You know, we all have trusts and wills, and we set up things for our family. And the Life and Legacy program was designed for us as families to continue on with what we feel is important in our Jewish lives through the synagogue. The continuation of your concepts and ideas and thoughts. And the Life and Legacy program is very, very simple. It's 2 documents. The first is a letter of intent. All you have to do is fill it out. There is no requirement for you to commit to any dollar amount today. That is something that you set up in your estate. No one knows what it is until at the time that it's executed. The form just basically says, I am willing to make preparation in my estate for the benefit of Temple Bethel of South Orange County. So I first off would like to thank all of our families. There's 53, I believe, that are still alive. There were 58 in total families. If you have any questions regarding the program itself, feel free to ask anybody on the board or Lisa Beth, or if you're a friend of these individuals, obviously you can ask them. We have forms outside on the counter. The second phase would be when you actually go into your state planning, there's a letter of commitment basically says, I have executed my whatever it is going to be. Again, no dollar amount. It's whatever you need. We know circumstances changes in the future. I don't want to belabor this, but it's really sort of critical because it's like everything else. We want to take care of our families, but you also want to create an opportunity of endowment for the future of what your values are today. And to me, that's being a part of our Jewish community. So, that's enough of that. Questions? Oh, yes, we need to, yes.
So I move that the congregation adopt the proposed 23-24 budget as presented to the congregation.
Okay, it has been moved by Stu Krilloff that we accept the 23-24 annual budget, proposed annual budget, and it is seconded by Brad Shapiro. Always counting on Brad. So, okay. All those in favor, wait, okay, I'm sorry, yes, any questions? Moshe. Oh. Can they speak out or? Speak up, whoever is raising their hand on Zoom. Oh. Anybody else? Are there any questions either in person or on Zoom? Anybody? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. Those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Any abstentions? And remember not to vote if you've already turned in your proxy. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, Helen Rausner, are you online?
Yes, I'm online.
Please raise your hand.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, you're going to have to be really quiet. All those opposed? Wait, no. Hold on. Helen, I think you need to still mix. Oh, okay. Okay. Our VP of Governance, Helen Rausner, is online. So if you listen carefully, she's going to explain the proposed bylaw change, which will make the executive vice president a standing position. Right now, it is only in the year prior to the president stepping down. So Helen, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to give you a little background in our rationale before I make the actual motion. And then once I make the motion, any questions, I can take those afterwards. Okay. The current bylaws provide that the election of the executive vice president is only in the last year of the term of the president. The intention is that the executive vice president would be elected that last year in order to kind of shadow the president and help the president out during that one term. And also to preside at any meetings of the board when the president cannot do so. With the complexities of today's temple life and the duties of the president, the board recommends that the executive vice president position become a permanent position rather than only in the last year of the president's term. This way, the president can have someone to help him or her to govern the synagogue. It takes a lot of effort. I don't know how Amy and all the past presidents did it by themselves. Many congregations have gone to co-presidents, which the board decided was not a good idea. So we want to get the president some help with the permanency of the executive vice president. In order to do so, the bylaws must be changed, and there's various paragraphs that allude to the term of the executive vice president as being only in the last year, or just make mention of the executive vice president as when the executive vice president is elected. So with that in mind, I move that paragraphs 6.03, 6.13, 7.01, 7.09, and 8.01 as submitted be approved by the membership.
Okay, can I
I
have a
guess I
second?
need a second.
Can I have a second to that motion? Stuart? Okay, so it has been moved by Helen and seconded by Stuart that the paragraphs 6.03, 6.13, 7.01, 7.09, and 8.01 as submitted in writing be submitted, well, they were submitted to the membership for approval. Are there any questions? Just so you know how this affects the coming year, we don't have an EVP on the slate, and so I don't know if Steve will, I think there is an option that Steve could appoint one, or this might just end up on the next year's slate. So, okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Anybody opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Well, do we have hold on a minute, Amy.
Yes?
For an amendment to the bylaws, we need a 2/3 majority. So I need you to count them, please.
Okay, hands up again if you are voting. If we don't have your proxy. That mean we have to have 2/3 of the proxy or 2/3 of the membership? Oh,
2/3 of the
2/3 of
membership.
quorum. Okay. Oh, yeah. What's our total number of voters? We had 89 proxies, and then how many people? Okay, we'll work on that. They'll get back to us. Okay, Sherry and Lisa Beth, do you want to just work on that and get back to us? We have 101 in favor. Okay, so we have the 2/3 that we need. So motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay. In the congregational meeting packet, there was an annual report from the whole executive committee and the clergy. I hear crickets. I hope you had the opportunity to read that. So if by chance anybody has any questions for any of our vice presidents, now would be the time. Joni? I think it's a separate, okay, the question by Joni was how long the term for the executive vice president would be. And Helen, I don't believe we addressed that, but in general, executive committee members are on for a 2-year term. It's been kind of softer
Okay.
in the last few years. But
Yes, that's correct. But let me just also mention, which I failed to mention, is that we have a committee that is going through every paragraph in the bylaws, which hasn't been done in a long time. We are almost finished, and that will be one of the things we will be addressing, and we'll be submitting the proposed changes to the bylaws for review and comment to the membership before we present it at the annual meeting. So that's one of the items we will be addressing. We just wanted to get this part of it done so that perhaps we could get an executive vice president this coming year, because we need one.
I can vouch for the fact that I have had a really close relationship with many members of the executive committee who have stepped up and regularly meet with myself and the clergy and staff, so that I'm not the only one doing it. By no means have I been doing this by myself. So, but now we think having an EVP as a standing position would be a really good idea. Sure. Can you give me the question is are we going back to when we have standing committees? Okay, the question is whether, I guess in the past, the VPs have each, or at least identified VPs had standing committees to support their office or their portfolio. I'm not sure how to answer, Tamara.
Thank you. Is that okay? Okay. In many respects, we still do, and VPs do have committees, and many different, like for instance, the festivals committee that works on different events, and different VPs do have, I mean, goodness, with ritual, I mean, there are so rituals is under the VP, I'm sorry, festivals is under the VP of rituals, but there are other different committees that all fall under them, and though it might wax and wane of what's going on, but whether it's even like, I want to say like Audacious Bakers, like all the different groups still are under those VPs and still do a lot of different work behind the scenes and are working in relationship with the VP. Some are more independent, but many of those committees are still happening. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Still happen. We do. I mean, when you say standing, I would say the only iffy thing is that there's not always the same, like you said, 4 or 5 people, but there are people who've been on the same committee many years and do have a lot of the supervision. I'm thinking of even like Hinenu, who are Child Spree, Women's Retreat, who are the go-to people consistently and do a lot of that work and have a lot of people come to them. So yes.
Reform Rituals Committee going to be brought back? I don't understand why we don't have a Reform Rituals Committee.
At this point, the Reform Ritual Committee is on pause until Rabbi Rosner comes on board. And then we will proceed with what works for the rabbi. We haven't, and we'll see how that works out. But right now, it is just on pause until he comes on and kind of establishes where he's at.
Okay. Joni, I'd be happy to share with you. I have a spreadsheet that has probably 20 committees with chairs and which VPs they report to. So there may not be, say, a specific committee. There's a collection of committees, and when I was VP of Governance, I created this grid to make sure that every committee had basically a connection in the executive committee. So we're continuing that. We don't have any committees that are independent and don't have some VP that's supervising or watching them. No, but there wasn't that clear hierarchy before. So, okay, any other questions in general about the VP's reports or anything else? Okay. We have the presentation of the slate of nominees, and I have to apologize because I had thought I had told Brad Shapiro to be here, but he's clearly not. So, the other Brad, no, the Brad Shapiro, not Shapiro, I guess. The slightly less tall Brad, I guess. Okay, so anyways, why don't you, I'm going to call Tamara up because Tamara and, I don't know if Deborah, if you want to come up too. Deborah and Tamara were our board representatives on the nominating committee. So the first thing I want to do is identify the people that were actually on the nominating committee because it's an important job. Brad graciously accepted the position of chair and helped put together this year's slate.
Remaining. The other people representing the board were Deborah McKee and myself, Tamara Griffin, along with Howie Schwid and Elizabeth Olsheim, and we made up the committee.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and tell you the slate. Okay, for president, Steve Blanc. VP of governance, Helen Rosner is continuing, and the details are in this. I'd rather not, I guess, get over who's where in their terms. So Helen Rosner is continuing as VP of governance. Stuart Kriloff is stepping up from, or not stepping across, stepping up, I don't know what you call it, is stepping over to the VP of Finance position, which I really appreciate. VP of Rituals is Ellen Prince, continuing in that role. VP of Tikkun Olam is Barbara Scheinman Toretto. We welcome you to the executive committee. VP of Membership will be pending your vote, Sheila Stepnitsky. VP of Marketing and Communications, continuing that role is Steve Mirsky. Benjamin Rich is stepping up to be treasurer, and Sherry Saladow will continue in her role as secretary. And then the trustees, Julie Fingerish is continuing, Heather Kartzenell is stepping up, Bev Kritzstein is continuing, Jen Palitz is continuing, Abby Rubenstein is stepping up, Susan Samueli is continuing, and Amanda Wasserstrom is also continuing. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the slate of nominees as presented? Okay, so yeah. Okay, so Tamara is making the motion that we accept the slate of nominees as presented, and Brad Shapiro is seconding that motion. So it has been moved and seconded that we accept the 23-24. Yeah. I'm so sorry. It wasn't even on that. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, okay, good. Your name is on here. I just didn't read it. Sorry. Okay, VP of Education is Carolyn Kappas, continuing in her role as VP of Education. Have I forgot anybody else? Oh, okay. Take it off wherever it goes? Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, because I've been doing this for years. Right? Okay, so correction to that, Barb Scheineman. Thank you. Any other name corrections, as long as I'm doing this? Okay, so it has been moved and seconded that we accept the slate of nominees as corrected. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Oh, do you want to count? Sure. Count only if you have not submitted your proxy. Do you still need the hands up? Okay. And anybody against? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Okay, I have a brief, I think it's brief. It has been 3 years that I've taken this position, so I just wanted to say a few things, say a few thank yous, and then we can move on from there. 3 years ago, I volunteered to assume the role of president of this congregation. truth be told. At the time, the pandemic was 3 months old, and so my husband Joel was supportive of this decision, as we could not travel, and while anxiously hoping for a grandchild, there was none in our foreseeable future. I am happy to report that we are traveling again, and my first grandchild was born May 10th. My deepest gratitude goes to our clergy, administrative and custodial staff, and teachers, as well as our auxiliaries, Bee Sisters and Men's Club, our many committees and countless volunteers whose tireless efforts keep our community thriving. As I prepare to step down from my role, I want to express my deepest appreciation to each member of our Board of Trustees, but especially my executive committee. To Steve Blanc, who's not here today, but thank you for accepting the nomination to be Executive Vice President this past year. You have stepped up in so many ways, always offering your calm and thoughtful comments and framing them with your many Steve-isms that we have come to love. To Helen Rausner, thank you for your wisdom and ability to navigate challenging conversations. Your attention to detail and mediation skills acquired over a long legal career have been so valuable in your role as VP of Governance. To Rob Fesher and Stuart Krilloff, who I think of them as such a strong team, it's very hard to separate them, at least in my mind. I wish everyone in our community could know how many hours you have dedicated to the financial health of our congregation over the last several years, and especially in pursuing government support programs during the pandemic, helping with tenant leases, and accomplishing the purchase of our solar panels this past year. You have been a great team that we have all relied on. To Tamara Griffin, thank you for being one of Temple Bethel's greatest cheerleaders. Having you be one of the first voices and faces that greet potential new members is such a blessing. Thank you for all you have done to create a welcoming space in our community. To Ellen Prince, wow. Little did you know when you assumed the role of VP of Ritual what an all-encompassing and important position it would be this past year and this upcoming year. Your attention to detail as a choreographer have been put to good use in leading our rabbi transition team and also planning and orchestrating our cantorial coverage for the next 6 months. I so admire your dedication to our community and all the ways you support it. To Deborah McKee, making the world a better place through Tikkun Olam is so much the core of who you are and what you believe in. As VP of Tikkun Olam, thank you and the many committees in your portfolio for making sure that there were so many opportunities for our community to express our Jewish values in supporting Orange County through food and clothing drives and the various programs for refugees, the homeless, and foster children, as well as supporting our own Temple Bethel community through Hinenu and the bereavement support. To Carolyn Kappas, your dedication to the education of our children, teens, and adults is incredible. There is almost no difference in your enthusiasm whether you were a paid professional as EC director or as a lay leader volunteer. Your desire to make sure our schools offer the best Jewish education possible is constant. To Steve Mirsky, in addition to being our VP of Marketing and Communication, your knowledge of employment law and practices have been so valuable in guiding so many important decisions to us. Thank you for stepping up. I am confident that our Temple community will continue to thrive and grow in the years to come. I have faith in the abilities of Rabbi Jason Rosner, Rabbi Kavod Weider, Executive Director Lisa Beth Lobenthal, Director of Congregational Learning Johanna Sohn, and our incoming lay leadership team. I know they will guide our temple to an even brighter future. I wish for us a smooth journey going forward from here. In closing, it has been my honor to serve as your president, and I will cherish the memories and experiences I've gained during my time in this role. Please give your complete support to our next president, Steve Blanc. Thank you. Okay. Now, just sit down. Sorry. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so first off, I want to recognize all the board members that are here, because not all of them are here. Steve and Helen. Helen's online, and then all of you that I just spoke of. So Ellen and Tamara and Carolyn and Julie. These are all our, Julie and Amanda are our trustees, so please all stand up. Deborah, I'm sorry. Deborah, Rob, Sue, Bev, Susan, anybody else? Debbie Grinica, Sherry, Brad Shapiro. Anybody else? Okay. These are our existing, and then our new members are Sheila Stepnitsky and Barb Scheineman and Heather Kartzenell. I guess Abby's not here. Oh, and Ben Rich. Oh, Steve Blanc, okay. Okay, so thank you to all of you. Okay, and our outgoing board members are, and we have a gift for you, Rob Fesher. Deborah McKee. Tamara Griffin. And then the other, I thought I was stepping down, but actually I'm immediate past president for the next year, although not quite as big a responsibility. Well, it actually says past trustee, so I'll wait a year to get my gift, okay. And then we had Kathy Shapiro is stepping down. We had Lauren Owen was the VP, and I'm sorry, the president of the ECC, who was, and then Helen Porat and Sean Weiss. And I think that's it. Anybody else? Okay. And that's, and the reason why you're all here is now we're going to have the drawing for the High Holiday parking lot space. So, okay. You'll be glad when you don't have to rush to get there early for your parking space. It's a name, but I don't recognize the name. Posner. Okay. Are they, I don't know if they're online, but what's their, a Posner family? Okay, what we'll do is we'll do it both ways. We have enough parking spaces, don't we? Okay, so the Posner family will have one parking space, and okay, this is for the people that are here. Okay, here's the number. Ready? 822. I'm sure that's all of your beginnings. 7 5 1. Okay. There we go. So congratulations to Brad and the Posner family. Any other questions, comments, anything else? Thank you again for everybody who came tonight. There are, what? Are you making it? Okay, Evan Wall has made a motion to adjourn. Merritt Weiss has seconded. I assume there are no abstentions or people against. So anyways, meeting adjourned. Thank you.